All right. So this is John and Catherine.
Hello.
And we're going to do a webinar. This is going to be like one of an example of our webinars. So it's going to be, our typical webinar is going to be an hour long with instruction, and then an hour long where people are going to ask questions, get direct feedback and direction, so everybody can gain from other people's questions, not just what we're saying. And so this is going to be a quick snapshot. This is going to be like 10 minutes compared to an hour. But even within this 10 minutes, we hope to give you an idea of just about what you're going to be getting. It's going to be a lot of information. And we also have pages you can download when you're a member and print and turn into a book and use for your own practice. So in our webinars, they're 2 hours long, like I said. If your text is LNT, you get 2 hours for attending the webinar. The first hour is education. We're going to cover things like muscular, structural, hormonal, mobility, mental, emotional, the meridians, energies like chakras, auras, things like that, spirit, and questions you can ask your clients to take your practice deeper, because we're getting away from just working on someone to incorporating them into the practice, because let's face it, they're in charge of their body and energy and emotions and mental state more than we are. We're helping guide them when they come in to see us.
Right, and what this will do is it will help you create clients, not dependents.
Exactly. I think anybody that's been doing massage therapy, we've been both doing massage therapy about 20 years each, and if you've been doing massage for any length of time, 2 to 5 years, you've probably picked up 1 or 2 dependents, and you know what that feels like. It can be very draining, especially if you see them on a regular basis. The second part of our webinar is going to be broken down into, like I said before, you asking questions. You can actually have your client paperwork and ask directly about a particular client, or yourself for that matter, a family member. And as a member, I'm going to show you a quick link here that you will have access to our sheets that give information about what's going to be happening. And
they pertain to a different body part each webinar. So it's very specific to like neck and shoulders or low back. And that way you can print them out and put them in your file folder for easy access when your clients do come in exhibiting certain problems.
Yes, exactly. So the sheet will actually give you all the information that we're going over here, but in a downloadable form. The page that what we're going to be working on today is 3 pages long. So, we'll start with muscles. There's so many muscles of the neck. We're not going to go over everything, but we're going to we'll go more in the question section over what we need to cover. People specifically asking questions, we can go over muscles directly. But right up front, I want you to know that most of the muscles in the neck are related to the stomach meridian, and which makes sense. That's where you swallow. That's where you take things in. So the muscles of the neck relate a lot to how people take in the world around them. What's on their shoulders, what they're carrying. Are they taking too much in it? And we use terms like too much on my plate, which is what? It's referring to like the stomach, eating. And so there's lots to go over here, and more in the question format, we'll go over that in more detail. Anything you want to add?
Well, I was just going to say that anytime you're focusing on where the pain is, you have to also realize that there's the muscles in the front of the neck that are super symbiotic, and so we're going to cover those as well, because like if someone comes in and they've been in a car accident and they've had whiplash, they've also had kind of an emotional whiplash, and we treat the muscles at the front of the neck as well.
Right. And that emotional whiplash can be, it's not a physical experience, it's a mental or emotional. And what's really cool is the stomach meridians relate to processing the things happening in our life. So if something hits you right on emotionally, maybe it's just that you're having a hard time processing what happened and it gave you whiplash. The whole experience is like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah, and it's in your etheric body too. And we're going to go in deeper and talk about that in future webinars.
Another aspect that we have is the structure of the body. And the structure is more skeletal. You can see that the neck involves the 7 cervical vertebrae. What's really interesting, I find interesting, is when they cut the spinal cord in between these little vertebrae, they get these little formats. And it looks like wings to me. So basically the 7 archangels, everything that you can think of biblically is repeated inside the body. So your 7 archangels are actually right here. And what do the angels do? They're communicating from heaven down to earth. So they represent the nervous system. And each one of these vertebrae relates to a different part of the body, from the middle ear to the eyes, the nose, the thyroid, the shoulders.
It's so beautiful.
I love it. I love the correlation. I'm kind of like a spiritual geek when it comes to that type of thing. And then we have the hormones. Now, hormones are really tricky.
Skip over those, right?
Especially since puberty. That's been like a big thing. But we have basically 7 hormonal glands, and they relate to the 7 chakras. And here at the throat area, we have the thyroid, which is in charge of metabolism, body temperature. It also helps with the cardiovascular system. The parathyroid, which are 2 tinier pieces on the thyroid, relate to the calcium balance in the body. And so thyroid is majorly important all around in the body.
Yeah, and especially for your female clients, anytime they have neck issues or they're, have thyroid trouble. I mean, who doesn't know about thyroid trouble these days with women? And it's really mostly about suppressed anger and not really being able to speak your truth. So we're gonna go into that in more depth as well.
And I think we'll see the more of that because, we're not just having our own individual lives, we're also playing out in the bigger macrocosm where, like, what's going on just in our world today brings those issues to light. And we're also going to be going over things like the supplements kelp and iodine are really important for the thyroid. We'll throw that information in as we go along and teach. Mobility has a lot to do with the neck. The neck represents, can you turn all the way to the left and all the way to the right, which means you can see the full spectrum in front of you. Sometimes if somebody's limited in their range of motion with their neck, what that limited range of motion means is maybe they're having trouble seeing both sides of an issue. Maybe they're having a hard time seeing the whole thing, so it gives them a limited view.
Right. And even being able to see what's behind you, a right thoughts about your past and being able to move forward clearly into your future.
Exactly. It's like looking both ways before you cross the street. If you can't do that, something could happen. So being able to be flexible and open-minded. So the neck also relates to being open-minded, which takes me to the extreme of that, which would be gullibility. So sometimes people that are overly gullible, they have very weak neck muscles. Mentally, the head represents thinking and the torso relates to doing.
Yeah, so when you have trouble with, executing a plan, and we'll get down to the questions that we're going to ask some of your clients is, have you ever had trouble not doing the things that you're thinking about? And so when that happens, then you really can get kind of stymied in life, and that will directly reflect to your solar plexus or your central nervous system and your self-esteem. When your self-esteem is compromised, you're really not going to be able to voice your choice and use your voice in a way that's going to be powerful and motivating for you to move forward into life.
Yeah, exactly. And also it can be you're thinking something that you're not doing or doing something that you think you shouldn't be doing. Hits that area as well. Emotions, this area has got a lot to do with emotions and your voice. If you can't say no, then you wind up being shackled. You got this yoke on your shoulders of responsibility because you can't say no. And we're going to incorporate information, especially on the longer, this is just a sample, but the flower essence Centauri, it actually helps with being able to say no. And it's a Bach remedy, one of the Bach remedy flower essence.
Yeah, and this would be a client who maybe martyrs themselves a little bit and feels like they're in a victim mentality, and
Been
you
there,
can
done
really yeah, me too, and you can really help them start to voice their choice by just directing them back to, hey, look at what your body's telling you, and it's not a judgment. There's no right or wrong about it, but if you've got these, if you're nervous, if you have obsessions, if you have some anxiety or worry or broken power, and the Valor oil through Young Living Oils is really powerful to use during a massage or even direct them to just the plant kingdom just helps us, assists us in moving forward in ascension.
Exactly. A lot of anxiety, tension in this area that's covered around the stomach. And like I said, we'll go into much more detail on a regular hour webinar. The meridians that relate to this particular part of the body are the stomach meridian. The meridian starts under the eye. I incorporate EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. That's a tapping technique created by Gary Craig. And sometimes I'll hold the muscle that has an issue and then lightly tap the meridian. But if you know which meridian relates to that particular area, it's much more helpful. Every muscle in the body has a correlating meridian. The upper trapezius, which is another muscle related to the neck area, is kidney. So the main meridians of the neck area are both kidneys and stomach. And you can access those points, which will teach you how to do that.
Kidney is really all about forgiveness and partnership. So if you know these things, then you can really start to create that source code alignment or realignment, and so that the person really is thriving in body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah, because what it really gets down to, what we're trying to teach and what we've been learning over the years, is that our body, when we experience pain, whether it's in our body or around our body, it tells us when we're out of sync with our source. We're out of sync with our source when we're experiencing some kind of pain, inside or outside. And that's the simplest way of saying it. So coming back into that alignment is getting all the facets of ourselves put back together. It's like a fragmented, you have to defrag your computer. We're the same way. I mean, every human is walking around a fragmented being, and so much less than we could be.
Mm-hmm.
The energy centers related to the neck area is the throat. It's the throat chakra, the color blue, self-expression, which means we can overexpress sometimes. Like people that talk too much can wear this area out, and other people that don't speak up enough, they affect this area as well.
Yeah, and also it's directly tied to the solar plexus, which is all about self-esteem. We talked about that earlier, and that to me is, for me personally, when I got that hooked up, my self-esteem and my throat chakra, then I could really start to move forward into teaching, and my self-expression was more, I had more clarity around that, and I was able to line up with my mental capacity and really put all that online and just rock and roll in my purpose.
Yeah, because if you don't feel like you have any power, you don't have any voice. And vice versa. If you don't speak up for yourself, you have no power. So those two are married together, and we'll teach you how each one of the chakras has a partner. It's a yin and yang relationship.
Right, and believe it or not, your people will come in exhibiting the pain first.
Yeah.
And it's our job to decode or defrag all of those symptoms into what's really going on. And you can ask them direct questions and they will just say, no.
Right.
But we know we can ask again in a different way, and we're going to get down to the root of the problem, because when we can get that root covered and up, kind of dug up, so to speak, then we can just reprogram in a way without that residual hanging out and causing more problems, or those little roots starting to grow again.
And there's a learning curve when it comes to asking questions too. In my experience, when something does come up, the body does not lie. The body is a total reflection of your conscious and unconscious mind, and it doesn't lie. So you could ask somebody something, and they may say no, and you want to ask in a way that is like, this area relates to this issue. You don't want to be accusatory. People do not like that.
No.
So there's a very delicate way of asking questions, and we may just have a webinar just on that. But some questions you can ask your people is, do you have trouble saying no? We've already covered that. Are you having trouble seeing all sides of an issue or a situation? How is your digestion?
Yeah, and are you resisting a certain situation or someone? Have you been feeling disgusted about something that you just can't stomach it anymore? Do you feel stifled in some way, like you've just sort of pressed down all your inspiration and you're just not able to move forward? And have you been swallowing angry words? That's a big one.
Yeah, and again, it relates to the stomach. Swallow, right?
Yeah.
So some people that have trouble saying no, they just let all this stuff be put on top of them, and they don't say no, and they don't say no. But you know what? Inside you, and this is me included, you'll be saying the things you should be saying out loud. But what happens is you say those things inside, but then you swallow them because they never come out. And I guarantee you, once you swallow that, those things are in your body. You haven't got rid of them yet.
Yeah, and John was even saying earlier today that he's had clients that have reflux, and say a little bit about that.
What reflex is, it's the energy of, I have too much. I can't take anymore. Anything that's pushing energy up out of the esophagus area is saying no more. It's a sign of saying no more. And it doesn't mean food, even though food will be the physical mirror, or what I like to call the reflective. It's really about maybe somebody's in a situation where they just can't stomach any more of the crud they've been dealing with. And their body is following suit. It's doing exactly what they're thinking. I can't take anymore. I can't take anymore.
Yeah.
And until you change that pattern, and then the actions that they have to take afterwards, then that reflux will be like a lifelong issue. A supplement or a medication doesn't heal anything.
Yeah, right. And cues, even like coughing or clearing your throat, are huge cues for me, because coughing it's going to take an act of their will to get through this. And clearing your throat is just an indication of, I can't really say what I want to say. I have to filter. It's a filter. And so that's a cue for me to ask more questions. Their body is dialoguing with me in a way that's not using words.
And the last one I think we've already covered is, do you feel the weight of the world or something or someone on your shoulders? And the interaction is really key here, because you get them thinking. When, we're moving away from doing massage on someone to with them. So if you're doing a massage on someone, you're going to rub them, they're going to go away. And you're going to affect the physical symptom, but the symptom is always going to come back unless you get the core issue. And we're talking about getting to the core issue from our past experience of working on clients ourselves. And we're still learning. So we're sharing our learning curve as we grow as well. So in our webinars, we're going to have questions. So we have a live audience today, and since this is just a way to show you how our webinars work, we really wanted it to be an interactive process. And so we have Carrie Doggett here with us today. She is a licensed massage therapist in Texas, and she's going through this process with us, and she's going to ask us some questions, and we're just going to show you how our question and answer time might look to you. Okay, great.
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for being here today.
Certainly. So this, just in sitting here with you guys, seems like such a brilliant idea to do this for massage therapists, because I think so many times the resources and information aren't out there, or it's just kind of scattered, and we're all trying to just grasp what we can from here and there and wherever. But tell me a little bit about why you guys decided to offer this to therapists.
Oh, well, for me, after I started in 95 as a therapist, and I did start out working on people, and I was a helper. I really wanted to fix people. And over a period of time, what I realized is that it wore me out. I also discovered that I really didn't know who I was in regard to massage, and so I spent a lot of time bumping around looking at different modalities that weren't really a fit for my personality. So I went into the coaching arena, and that really helped me hone in on who I am in regards to the healing arts and bodywork in general. And what I realized is that this whole holistic mind, body, spirit model is the one that I have seen work over and over and over again for my clients and other clients, and I have taught this to other therapists as well. And then John and I actually met each other and discovered that we had the same massage instructor that so many years ago, but that we were really on the same path. He just took a different route through Reiki, through EFT, and I went a different route through body electronics and bio-optic holography, and just there's so many modalities out there that we've touched that we wanted to take our pool of resources and kind of bring them into a format that was easy to understand and access.
And it is like that. It's like there's so many pieces out there. I mean, as soon as you lay your hand on one part of the body, there's at least 10 maps there. And there's 10 different languages for every map. And Catherine and I played with that so long that we've come an understanding of that language. And for us, we call that source code translation, meaning that every one of those maps is written by the same code. They may not look the same, and they may not sound the same, but they're all written with the same information. Once you can understand that, once you see the linking language, then it's like you have access to all of those all at once. And that's the cool part to me, because like I said, I'm kind of a metaphysical geek, because I love how the correlation happens of how things link together. Once you start seeing that, it even goes beyond just your own personal body or your clients. It begins to reflect in life.
Yeah, and it's the difference between being a mechanic and a healer.
Right.
for me. And there is room for mechanics, body mechanics in the world. That's just not our focus. We can do it, but we really want to incorporate all of that so that you have a fully functioning human who's thriving in their own environment.
Right. Well, talk a little bit about why it is so important to have the mind, body, spirit connection rather than just, I'm hurting here, fix that, and I'm off to the next whatever. I think just in general, that's important for people to be more connected to who they are, why they feel that way. And I like that you guys are pushing more, or all the way more into that rather than, just show up for an hour and let me, work this knot out and that knot.
I think the importance of that is that you're never going to have a lasting result unless you look at all facets. And every being, every individual is like a prism. It's like we're even broken down. If you look at the metaphysical chakra system, it's like light being broken down into 7 rays. We're each this complex being. And if you only look at one aspect, you're missing 90% of the picture. And as you work and as you understand these things, your consciousness does expand. When they say you only use 10% of your brain, what they're really saying is you're only 10% conscious. And the more you work with this, and the people that will probably be attracted to this are the people that are expanding their awareness. And each spectrum that you start to understand is like, it's like the iceberg where only 10% of it is sticking out of the water and 90% underneath. As you begin to shift, it's like the iceberg disappears. There is no, because the frozen iceberg is swimming in the ocean, which is God. So as soon as you dissolve that separation, then you're right there. I mean, you're seeing it all. We're not there yet, but we're on the way. It's like Catherine and I are like surfing on the wave, and we want to help people find that sweet spot.
Right, and I think the way that we work together is really good in that I can bring it back into the practical aspects of, hey, this is what's happening, this is what's presenting in a client, and these are the symptomatic things that's bugging them. But that's not really what's happening. And so John can go, I can say, okay, this person has blah, blah, blah. They're exhibiting neck pain in the right side of and he'll be like, okay, I know exactly what that is. He does the source code translation, as do I. And then what we've learned is how to show you how to do it in a way that's fast and easy. And it sort of decodes all of this hocus pocus, thing that you're like, I don't know how to, I don't even know how to access this. So this is the portal for that.
Yeah, it's like spiritual beings in the past have said like these, these complex things, and then you have to have like a translation book to understand what the heck they're saying. And we're just trying to simplify it. Everybody has access to this information.
Right.
It's not like
it needs to be.
Yeah, you don't need like a decoder ring or anything like that.
It needs to be simplified.
Right, but massage therapists really are the first line of defense. I mean, we're the ones who see the triage coming in, and so these people have been out in the world and they've had life experiences that have really beat them up, or they're just tired, or they're just looking for an hour of just, please make it stop.
And this isn't just for massage therapists, it's also for any other healer out there, because maybe you've been in the healing field and you came in that direction, but you don't know much about the physical body. So by us telling you how the physical body works with the energetics, you get that facet, because it's, like I said, it's a multifaceted thing. And so we're really trying to speak to a large audience. And to me, to be honest, I think this should be like a school. It should be in school. Everybody should know this. I mean, if you learned this before you graduated high school, your whole life would be entirely different.
Yeah. Choose a different a boyfriend or girlfriend.
That would cause evolution to happen like overnight.
Totally. Agreed. So, and I know that you guys deal with the essential oil piece of this. Kind of touch on why that's such a important part of what it is that we do as therapists to help clients when they come in with certain issues.
Well, for me, the plant kingdom is here to assist us, and it increases our faith in ascension. And so basically, these are tools for ascension in consciousness. And so everything's consciousness. And these flower essences and the tinctures that we talk about and the essential oils are all vibrating at a rate that is that rate of where we want to go, or where we're trying to ascend to. And so they just support us in that movement of scale for me.
Yeah.
And they're not going to... we don't claim that they're going to heal anyone, but they are beneficial, and they're so benevolent and so willing to help. That's what they're here for. That's why we grew them in the first place.
Right.
That's why we've been gifted them. And to utilize them in combination with a person's desire to move upscale is perfect for me.
What Catherine said is ideal and perfect. It is a frequency. And sometimes, while we've studied so many different things like flower essences, essential oils, and herbs, and things like that, is each one of those is a frequency. And maybe in one case you may need a flower essence, in another case it may be an essential oil or an herb or a supplement. And I know in massage therapy we can't prescribe these things, but we can give people suggestions and talk about, like, I've taken this for this. And our collective, Catherine's and mine, collective knowledge on that gives us a spectrum where we can say, hey, this feels like, when you're calling in and talking about your client, it's not we're going to be talking from a book. We're also using our intuition. We already own this information. It's like telling you a story. The intuitive part kicks in when we can tell you what exactly needs to go, as opposed to another thing. So in some cases it may be a flower essence, sometimes it's an oil. And we can direct you by intuitively plugging into your clients
Plus
and
we
yourself.
have great resources that we've gleaned from for years and years and years. So we know the finest quality, and we partner with people who are really intuitive about how they craft them. They're wild crafted, they're beautifully designed, and the purest that we have been able to find.
And just one last thing on that is, sometimes when somebody's going through something, going back to the frequency, is like that oil has the frequency of what that person's missing. So by using that oil on a regular basis, it's putting that frequency back into the body until that person owns that piece, and then the oil or the supplement isn't used. Whereas if you do a medication, it's not healing that. You're going to need a medication until the day that you die. That's not a healing process. That's just addressing the symptom, where we're going to the core.
Great. Yeah. So, I want to just finish this up with saying that the body, mind, spirit combination for me is the fastest way to ultimate healing and well-being. And well-being is our birthright.
Yeah.
And thrival is what we're going for. And survival and suffering is really just a choice anymore, as is this. And why not choose this for your clients and really for yourself? My heart is for the therapist, and that you...
Exactly. Because in the end, working with the client, you're helping them get into that phase where they're doing that for themselves as well. And we can't do it all for the client, but we can guide them. And one thing that you're going to learn through our webinars is the people that come to you typically, not typically, I would say all the time, are reflective of what you may be going through or have been through. And that's always been the case for me. It's always cosmic that way. Mm-hmm. So as you learn more about your clients and yourself, the whole spectrum of how you can help other people expands. And we grow from that and leaps.
Now, all healing is self-healing.
Yeah.
So thank you for tuning in today, and thank you, Carrie, for being here.
Thank you.
Great questions that you asked, and I appreciate that. Very enlightening.
So this is just a quick little snapshot of what we're going to be doing, and you can click on the website to find out more information, and we'll hope to see you and connect with you soon. Thank you.